Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow Podcast. I'm glad to have you back. Hey, if you wouldn't mind doing so, if you haven't already done so, would you please subscribe to the podcast? Any one of your favorite channels, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Apple's the biggie, if you want to do that. And while you're out there, visit globalinvestoragent.com. These are where you'll find investor agents who are not typical. They're actually trained to work with you and I, the investor. They have the tools, the methodology, the terminology, and know how to identify, analyze, and negotiate on and off market real estate investment deals. So go ahead and find one of those guys for yourself. And if you are an agent, I know what it's like out there in the marketplace because I actually run the Global Investor Agent team in 36 states. And if you want to find out what it's all about, just click on the Learn More button. Couldn't be a better time than now because the market's shifting. And this is the way you can build out that part of your model so you not just survive, but thrived in the shift. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and introduce our guest. We got a great guest today, Coach Matt Drinkhahn from Charlotte, North Carolina. One of my favorite hangouts. I've got some family roots in the area, and we were just talking about that. So Matt, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you sharing your time and energy and your experience with us.
No, thank you so much for having me on, Gary. And you've already done something amazing in the show. And I'm a student of life, and you did something amazing. We talked before you turned it on. We talked for 10, 15 minutes, just got to know each other, and we didn't want to really talk about business. And then you just shared the globalinvestoragents.com. I didn't know you did that. We didn't talk about that at all. And it's amazing that when you just are genuine and you're a good person to be around, that now I want to do business with you. And then you just shared what you actually did. And I didn't even have any idea about it. So thank you for that. It's been good so far. Looking forward to today.
Oh, you're welcome. What's funny is I'll just briefly tell you, I actually started it based on my own life experience of investing and working with investors and working with agents, And most agents were wonderful people, excellent in helping us buy and sell their homes. But I learned from getting into brokers that very few of them are actually trained in the art and science of investing in real estate. Commercial guys, they're definitely trained. But on the residential side, they're not, and they don't even realize it. So this is why we do what we do to help them be more a well-rounded agent and also invest themselves. But that's one of our goals. So it's all about the giving and the serving and showing them there's a way the way to wealth is by serving others and helping help the others get what they want, and you'll get plenty of what you want. Thanks to Zig Ziglar for that golden nugget of wisdom. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, if you wouldn't mind, Matt, you got a really interesting background, and I love the things that you're involved in. And we talk about giving and serving. Your whole life is spent in the realm of service. And I want you to expand on that. I know there's a lot we can talk about, but maybe let's start at the beginning. And I understand you also get involved in real estate. Maybe we could talk about your first deal or one of your deals, maybe a current one, and go into what really matters behind internally, like what happens internally inside a person to be able to do these kind of things. And whatever you want to share, as long as you, I know we can't maybe mention names or anything, but examples, that would be awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for teeing it up. So what I heard was first deal, current deal, and anything on internally on how you get to that point where you are doing deals. And I got a lot to share, and we got a little bit of time. So let's dive in deep right away. I would share first that I am a military brat. I moved around a whole bunch. So I'm used to a changing environment constantly. 17 moves, 21 years as a kid growing up, and then 19 moves since. And I'm 45 right now. So you do some math, a lot of moves. So in all that moving, the only constant was that I had to continually pivot all the time, making new friend groups, new hobbies, new everything all the time. And that really kind of hardened me or taught me to be open to new things that are coming all the time. Because if I'm shut down in my own world, then I'm just going to kind of be in the closet. I'm going to be an introvert. I'm going to be in the corner. Nothing wrong with any of those things. There's no judgment here.
Yep.
I will share that as I became more open to the possibilities around me, and I'll share with you a number of them. As I became open to that, my whole world expanded. And I'm excited to be here with you today. Let's go into the first deal. So you said first deal, the first real estate deal. My very first real estate deal ever, it was an acquisition through marriage.
Wow.
Through marriage. And what that means is that when I got married, my wife had a real estate investment property. So that is the first one that our team came together. My wife and I are a team. We are investors together. We have our own LLCs and everything set up to do that together. But you say the first deal, that was an easy one. It was in Alexandria, still is, Alexandria, Virginia, and it was acquired through marriage. I can take no credit. I did not find my wife just so I could acquire a property through her. But I will say that that was the first deal. And
That's
when
awesome.
we got into that, or when we got married and she shared that with me, that is really when I started to learn about real estate investing. It's through her, because she had that. So that was the very first deal. And we still have that property and it does cash flow. So that's positive.
Nice.
The second, at least let's say current deal. So the current deal, we are in the middle right now, or maybe in the front end of negotiating the current deal. And what does that look like in English? Well, because of my full-time coaching business, executive business coach, proadvisorcoach.com, because of that, we are now in a place where my wife, she left her career, like full-time career job, and now we are in the business together of acquiring other companies. Acquisition entrepreneurs might be the trendy term nowadays. So currently, we are on, I believe, the 15th or 16th company that we have vetted, attempting to get to that deal. We're in our due diligence phase right now, attempting to get our letter of intent and get the company acquired. And this process, where we're at right now in our investing career, is acquiring our very first company together.
Cool.
And I still run the full-time coaching business and some other things that I'll share in detail in a minute. But together, we decided that we have the active income, it's very strong, and we want to build our massive passive cash flow, which is okay and not as strong as we want it right now. So she left that company so that we can do this together. So our current deal is one that is in the works, and it's to acquire a company that's, well, I'll get very specific with you. We're looking specifically for companies that are local to us within a couple hours of Charlotte, companies that we might say at a low end are cash flowing $15,000 to $20,000 a month. I would say at a high end, maybe more in the $40,000 to $50,000 a month range. But we're looking for something in that broad range. A service-based business doesn't have a whole lot of patents. Like, we're not looking for chemicals. We're not looking for a major warehouse. A service-based business that is from a baby boomer looking to retire, that might have not upgraded their technology, upgraded their website, that may be a one-person shop that's their customers love them, but they haven't figured out how to scale yet. And that's where our amazing strength, me on the sales side and the leadership side, and her on the operations, on the relationship side, and on everything around just tiny, tiny, tiny details. Because she's that detail finance person, and I'm the salesperson and motivational leadership guy. You put us together, we know how to do that ourselves and through virtual assistants that can help us to scale a company. So we're looking for that right now. So if any of your guests out there are looking to sell their companies and they're within Charlotte range a couple hours, we're open for business. So that's kind of where we are in the current deal. Here is where, when I start to think about your question of the internal, how might you get to a place where you can build massive passive cash flow? Well, I feel right now we are in this rocket ship that is getting ready to launch and just explode into the atmosphere and do great things. Here's how we got there. I'll start, and I made a list here of places that we have learned how to invest in ourselves. And the first place I'd start with, I'll just take this in the last 6 years. There's plenty before, but we'll just go 6 years back. 6 years ago, I was already running a business at a high level. We were already doing well. And I decided to invest in something called Sandler Sales Training. Now, there's a man out there named David Sandler who taught a very in-depth sales process, mentality, and philosophy a number of years ago. He has since passed on. His philosophy and his teaching tools, they're absolutely phenomenal. There's like 170 plus independent agents around the country that run a Sandler sales training practice. One of the best in the whole country is here in Charlotte. His name is Jim Dunn. And I trained with him for 12 weeks, once a week, 3 hours a week, 6 years ago. And
Okay.
Gary, it has made all the difference in the world. I was already good at sales. I already had $100 million plus in sales under my belt, like 6 years ago. Now, since I took that training and got even deeper and more skilled and practiced in it, the sales game has taken off. And my business, it was doing well 6 years ago. Now, compared to 6 years ago, it's 10x because I would put a lot of this on investing in self to grow that sales skill. So this is going to be a common theme. You talked earlier about the realm of being in the realm of service.
Yeah.
Well, one of the realms of being in service is being the best sales professional you can be. So you're super clear with your clients and prospects, super clear on what you're going to deliver, what you're going to ask. And Sandler helped me get there. So that's a huge plug for Sandler. And they're not paying me to do that or say that. I genuinely believe and love the Sandler sales system. I got trained by one of the best, Jim Dunn.
Yeah.
Number two, I invested in a group called the Front Row Dads. I've been a member there for 4 years in the Front Row Dads. I have 3 daughters, 7, 6, and 4 at the time of our recording in February 2023. And 4 years now I've been in the Front Row Dads to be the best parent that I can be, the most present parent, and also the best husband I can be, because that's part of it as well. So investing in the Front Row Dads has been a major source of, well, first, inspiration for being a great parent, great husband. In addition to that, I have met some amazing people that we talked about before we came on camera. The people from GoBundance, for example, a lot of them are on Front Row Dads. A lot of them are hard-charging entrepreneurs who are just great at business, who want to be great, present, focused parents and spouses. So the Front Row Dads is a great place for that. That is actually the least, like price-wise, that's the lowest annual investment to be a part of that group of any of the groups I'm a part of. And it's been by far the most invaluable experience. Some of my best friends are Front Row Dads, and that's been amazing. So that's the second one. I'll go to a third one. The third one is a group called the Tribe of Investors. Tribe of Investors. Now, the Tribe of Investors is a group started by, there's a man out there, his name is Justin Donald. He's known as the lifestyle investor, and he has a partner named Eric Van Horn, who is known as the franchise secrets guy. You put the two of them together and they form this group called the Tribe of Investors, of which I am one of the first members of that group, and I've been a member now. I think we're in our second or third year of the Tribe of Investors. I'm in my second full year of it. And that helped me to invest. I made 5 investments last year with the Tribe of Investors. And to go into one of them, the first one I made last year was into something we talked about earlier. Invested in a non-direct whole life insurance policy that I have been borrowing from to fund other investments.
Yes.
Right. So, and there's positive tax advantages of that, several that you might not get in other investment avenues. So that would be one, the Tribe, and I'll just go through a few more from that Tribe Investors. The whole life insurance was one of them. I got off the bench and into cryptocurrency for the first time as a result of that particular group. There is a gentleman in that group, and you can Google this, it's the Lone Ranger, not the regular L-O-N-E, L-O-A-N, Lone Ranger, where there's this company out there where you can go and park money that you don't feel like you're going to invest in something, and they have a syndicate where they will invest it. And you can just sit there and collect a really simple return, the Lone Ranger, and I can give you some more details on that one, but that's another one. There's more, but I'll just pause for a second. Tribe of Investors. All of these places, these masterminds, these groups are helping me, my wife, even the people around us. It's helping all of us to build the mindset that can help us to be massive passive cash flow people. Because if you look at it, how do you get started in something like this? Well, you first start by priming the mind and getting yourself ready to do it. And like many people who might have gotten burned in investing back in 2008, especially June, July 2008 timeframe, if you got burned in that time, you may have just sat in cash for a long time. You may have not known how to get back into investing. I was one of those people. Didn't get back into the market, didn't really get back into real estate or anything at that time because I was nervous. So I sat cash heavy for a long time. And those of us out there, investor savvy, we know that cash, it may feel good, sound good, be good. And if it's not invested, then it's actually losing value. That's hard to understand. Coming from a place where the previous generation, like my parents' generation, they were taught to save, stick it all under the mattress. And if you learned about the advantages of saving 10 or 15% of every paycheck and compound interest, that was great, but that wasn't necessarily taught or followed by most people. It was just stash your cash. So this has been helping me to get back in the game, Gary, of which I've been absent for some time. So Tribe Investors, number 3. I'll go number 4. Number 4, and then I'll tie them all together. Number 4 group is XCHANGE, starts with an X, XCHANGE. XCHANGE is an organization led by John Berghoff, Adair Cates, Steve Bouchard. These are now close friends of mine. They've been on my podcast. These are people that are tremendous facilitators, virtual and in person. And they help bring out the potential in conversations. And that's one of their taglines. Then they're amazing at that. And as a result of going through XCHANGE training and being a part of that community for over 2 years now, that has taken my facilitation game to a whole new level, where I'm facilitating in some of the largest places that I've been before, places that are involved in local regional politics, for-profit and not-for-profit companies. So the XCHANGE approach has been instrumental. Those are 4 different places I've named in the last 6 years, of which I am a recurring member, or this is what you might call a mastermind, where I am continuing to level up each and every year my education. So what do we do with that? What do we do with that? Hey, that's great, Matt. You're working on it. How is that making you more money? How is that building the passive cash flow? Well, great question. Let me go to exhibit number 1 here, Your Honor. Exhibit 1 is the podcast. Now, like many people who dream of having massive passive cash flow, I did as well. And I didn't do anything about it. I didn't know how to get started. And I had this idea, let's write a book. I was telling people about it like 8 years ago. Didn't do it. Didn't know how. There was always one thing that I just couldn't figure out how to do. So I started a podcast. If you don't know what to do, what do? Well, I started a podcast, and my podcast is called the Eternal Optimist Podcast. And we help people figure out, well, there's hope out there. You can do it too, by sharing stories of people that have overcome tremendous things. How that ties to massive passive cash flow is, I didn't know where it was going to go, but I figured let's get in the game and do something, Gary. So started the show on May 13th. And since then, we've risen to a top 2% worldwide podcast. We're about to surpass our first 10,000 downloads. We've got 51 episodes published. I've had some world famous people. One of them I'm meeting face to face for the first time at the Phoenix Open next week. Mark Victor Hansen, sold more books than anybody in the world. Chicken soup guy. He's amazing. A great mentor. And you never know where things might go until you try. And that might be the first. If there's anything your listeners take away from today, I would strongly encourage you, ye listener, to consider the power of taking action versus simply collecting all these great ideas. It's great to listen to all these things. Until you take the action and know what it's like to be in that seat, it's only going to be an idea. It's only going to be unrealized potential. Got to get in the game. So let me take all those things I just mentioned where we've invested in ourselves and time all together. All of those things right there have helped us, from the Sandler sales to the XCHANGE, to the Tribe Investor, to the Front Row Dads, to running a podcast. All of those places have helped me to build a network of people that is so amazing, so tremendous. They say that your network is your net worth. Well, to give you an example, my anniversary with my wife, my 9-year anniversary was a couple weeks ago. And literally, one of the people that have had the show flew down in his private jet with his whole family. And we had an opportunity to meet them on our anniversary because they were speaking in North Carolina on real estate investing. So if we look at this, we've taken the careful time to work on ourselves and to build an amazing network. And it was all done very intentionally to help us get to a point where now we have the operators, we have the skills, we have the virtual players, we have the marketers, we have the relationships, the people that now all we've got to do next, and we're on, I mentioned before, maybe 15 or 16 companies we vetted. We're trying to find the right one. we're at a place where we're about to acquire our first company that we can run virtually without much from us because we know all the people that can help us to run it. You know, and that to us is massive, passive cash flow. We have some real estate, and that does a little bit. Our strategy currently, work on ourselves, build our network, and then let's go start acquiring companies. And I think that's where we're at right now, Gary. So I'll pause and take a breath and see what comes up next. So what do you think?
I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you for participating in the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. Also wanted to let you know that the book Global Investor Agent is officially out in print and in Kindle on Amazon. You can get it by clicking on the link right here. If you are an agent, definitely grab yourself a copy. This book, guys, was not just written by me. I also included 8 other investor agents from around the country. And I didn't just handpick them. I literally opened it up to the entire audience, and it was first come, first serve. So you're going to get feedback from brand new agents all the way up to top 25 team leaders, some on my team, some are not on my team, with valuable insight and instructions and guidance and actual checklists to follow to not just survive but thrive in this market. I know you're looking for that advantage, and this is it. By the way, if you are an investor, grab a copy for your agent. And for everybody, all profits from the sale of the book, Kindle and print, all go to the Healing House Foundation, 100%. Thank you for doing that too, guys. Let's get back to the show. Yeah, that's awesome. And I appreciate you. I mean, you touched on some really key points here. And I want to recite some of the groups that you're in. And you mentioned XCHANGE begins with the letter X. So for everybody, if you're not driving, go ahead and jot these down. Taking notes, guys. One of the most important things you can do is write things down. I know you'll think, I'll remember this, or I'll take a picture of that, or I got the recording. When you write something down, you're engaging your brain in multiple ways. You're using your eyesight, you're using your hand, and whether you know it or not, you're reciting the words. So it's almost like hearing them audible. You've got 3 sources of input in your brain. That's how you remember things. That's what makes recall so much easier. So in any case, XCHANGE, Tribe of Investors, sounds like a pretty awesome group. Front Row Dads, and I've known about that from you and our mutual friends in GoBundance. And then David Sandler is a coach, and I know the Sandler name too. So in any case, some pretty good networking there going on. And so I want everybody to remember this. When you're starting to grow a portfolio, for example, or a business, most people, and I'm guilty of it too, and when I was younger, I didn't know about or think about networking or relying on other people. I tried to do it on my own. I thought, well, everybody just has to roll up their sleeves and work hard, and that's how these people make it so big. I'm telling you, nothing could be further from the truth. Where I am today, not because of myself, but because of all those that I've surrounded myself with over the years. I mean, Lord knows I did not get where I am by myself. I definitely had help. And when the more you put yourself out there and the more you engage and associate with other groups, and maybe even form your own group, I'm telling you, the degree to which you will succeed is going to be directly related to the degree to which you do associate a network and build it. We're all friends. I mean, I consider I've had more fun in business. I've probably made more friendships in business than I ever got business from friends. And I'm still friends with all the guys in high school and college, but we very rarely do big giant things. I mean, the stuff that I'm involved in, not just in business, but in terms of fun. I mean, going all over North America, skiing in places like Whistler and Vail and Tahoe, Breckenridge, I never would have done if it wasn't for these business network groups. Racing Ferraris in Montreal Blanc, Canada, would never have happened if I wasn't part of a men's group, So in any case, it's so important. I can't even begin to tell you, I could write a book on all of the advice I've received and the opportunities to invest from networking, opportunities you'll never see on your own. Being in a group, people will say, you know what, Gary, we're looking at buying this business. You want a piece of this action? We could use another investor. I'm like, yeah, I want to be part of that. Show me, and you learn from all these. In any case, I'm kind of going on a rabbit hole here, But that to me is one of the most important things, and probably the second biggest one that you touched on, Matt, is the investing in yourself. I mean, I'll just let the cat out of the bag. I just turned 60, and I'm like, wow, what happened? How did I get here? I mean, my gosh, I'm looking at gray hair in the mirror and stuff. But the thing is I never stopped learning. Every day I read and I listen to other people's podcasts and I study. I research. I'm a consummate. I call it exploration and discovery, because it sounds fun when you call it. Instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to be like, no, man, I'm going to explore this subject, and I'll go deep, 5-10 books, taking training courses, things like that, and develop that level of knowledge where I know I can act instinctively on things. So in any case, that's where you were going with that. And I really appreciate you bringing that up, because to me, it's not so much how much money you make. Money becomes a measurement of success. It's not the success itself, it's the measurement of success. The success is who you become as a person to be able to achieve that kind of wealth. And that's really, to me, that's the message you're conveying. And so I'll turn it back over to you. If you have anything you're working on now that exemplifies this, or maybe one of the examples in your own life where you had a breakthrough or an opportunity come your way because of your investment in yourself and learning and being part of these other networks. And I'm sure they happen, with some regularity, but maybe there's one that was like a watershed moment for you,
Absolutely. And any one of those previous examples, those places where I invested in myself, I could go step by step and name the relationships that have come from those that have led to some type of business, some type of deeper, meaningful connection. Everything that you just said, I completely affirm that, Gary. That is true. That happened. And I didn't know my intention for those things.
Right.
My intention for Sandler's, I'd like to be a better salesperson. I did not know that I would find in that Sandler class my longest standing client, who's a dear, dear friend and a mentor and one of the guests of my podcast. I did not know when I joined Front Row Dads that this would be the biggest game changer of me being a parent. And I would meet all the people that we talked about beforehand and other people and genuinely, I wanted to get to know them and be the best dad I can be. And now I coach a number of them. I didn't expect that, and didn't expect that through that relationship, I would come in contact with the tribe of investors and start doing passive deals and some active deals. I did not expect from XCHANGE that I would gain this new skill that would open me up into a world of new people I've never met, of a number of which I do business with now. So all of these things happened because we had an idea. You call it exploration and discovery, Gary.
Yeah.
All these things happened because we had the courage to start that exploration and discovery and then integrate. And I feel that's a great place to conclude today, or at least start to move towards that, because we could study this stuff all day. We could listen to shows all day. We could watch YouTube videos on these things all day. And until we find that extra shot of courage to go and take the first step, we're not going to know. And I think that was something that kept me on the bench for so long, how I finally overcame that. If anyone else is out there who's been struggling to make that next plateau leap, it can be you're already an investor that's trying to get to your next biggest property, or you've read all the books and you just don't know how to get your first one, how to get that loan, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
We won't know until we take action. Here is how you might take action. Here's what worked for me. I read Tim Ferriss's book in 2016, December, Tools of Titans. And in that was an exercise he called fear setting. And the basic premise of the idea is to write down some situation or something that scares you. And there are a series of questions about what's the worst thing that could happen. And to actually picture and visualize and write that out and see that's the worst that could happen. And at the end of that exercise, what's the actual worst thing? Well, the worst thing is we can die. That would seem to be the worst thing. And then the next worst thing might be, when you start to learn about it, is we'll learn something. And it might cost us a few dollars, and it might cost us a little bit of time. And ultimately, all that stuff that we might dream about, or we might want, or the fuel behind why we listen to podcasts like this and why, we admire people who have those things in that lifestyle, is because we might want some of it. And to get over the fear of taking action, that fear setting exercise is one exercise I'd strongly encourage. So I think that's a good place to pause and come back to you and see what you had on that.
Sure. Well, that was I'm remiss because I didn't mention before, there was a third thing, that it is action. And then, it's in order to get results, you have to take action. And what happens, guys, is it actually becomes habit forming. You actually get better at it. And I know when I was guilty in my early years, I would say no. Really, what I was saying no to was myself, about taking action, or you're pursuing something, or putting myself out there and taking a chance. It was just safer just to stay in my little cocoon. But what happens is, as you mature as a person, I don't mean age-wise, but I mean as you grow and develop as a human being, you realize that the magic is in the action. And even when by other people's standards, you may have achieved what they would consider a failure, in your mind, you don't see it as a failure. It's just the next step in the journey. You learn what it takes to get to that, to the next step, and you take more action. And I can tell you, there's been some times in my life where it would have been easy to throw in a towel and give up. But thankfully, I had enough inside of me and enough, mentorship along the way, and coaches and a loving, supportive family to say, you know what, give it one more shot. Just take one more step, take one more breath. And I'll tell you one, there was one time in my life, I was literally out of gas in every way you could possibly imagine. I even had a doctor tell me, you have no hope. And I'm like, wow. And it really was like, I'm down to absolute ground zero, but you know what? I'm alive. I just took stock in my human body. Like, I'm here. Surely there's something I can do. And from that point on, everything, it's like the rest of the is history. But I will tell you, the key, one of the mottos on our team is 4 steps to success, four variables. There's really three ingredients, and then the fourth result. So the first ingredient is getting the right education. Okay. It doesn't mean the most expensive education. It just means the right education, what's right for you and what your goals are. The second thing is getting the right information so you can make informed, wise, intelligent decisions. And the cool thing about the right education is it often shows you how to get and use the right information. Kind of know how that works, right? The third thing is taking right action. So if you combine right education with right information and right action, it's a mathematical certainty you're probably going to get the right results. But the magic is in the implementation, the magic's in the action. All the education, all the information in the world will make you more intelligent, but it won't make you more successful unless you act on it. And it could be tiny, tiny little steps. I don't care if it's a phone call. Do something each day to move forward and position yourself for the next day. I could go on and on. I'll give you one more thing, and then we'll keep going. I learned this myself, actually through my interaction with Robert Kiyosaki. I came up with this. And he said something. He said, all you got to do really is just outwork the guy next to you, to succeed. I thought, pretty simple, pretty profound, pretty basic. And I came up with this 5-minute rule. And what I realized is, at the end of every day, you've always got 5 more minutes you could do something in. Write a thank you note, leave an email, send a text, read a chapter, read a page in a book, if that's all you have time for. Do something in that 5 minutes. And if you take 5 minutes and multiply it times 365, you'll find that you get a lot of minutes in there. You divide it by the number of hours, you'll find you get a lot of hours in several days. I'm telling you, let's just take real estate folks. Let's say you're a real estate investor or a real estate agent. With those few extra days you accumulated by taking 5 more minutes a day, you could land another deal. You could get another client, And sometimes that's all it takes. That one client. I had one client, turns out, I guess I can tell you this. He was a managing director for UBS Financial. And he couldn't tell anybody he was investing in real estate because they would have clobbered him because he's a managing director for UBS Financial. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Turns out he was one of the best investors I've ever had. We're still friends today. He helps people prepare their businesses for sale. He's slightly older than I am, but he introduced me to another guy whose father founded a major shoe company with 650 franchises that my client, his son, was the franchisor for. He became one of my favorite investors. That introduction came about because the first guy, I taught his niece how to buy a flip and how to buy a duplex. And she told her uncle, and he had me over one day to meet him. And I'm thinking, is this real? Is this, what am I being set up or something? And he said, no. He said, I need somebody like you that I can trust and count on and rely on. And I can't let anybody know. You can't ever use me as testimonial. Can't use my name for anything. He's retired now, so I probably could. But I just want to show you guys just one thing. The fact that I took the action to teach his niece is what led to that introduction. It was led to the second introduction. So two extremely affluent people on this planet. I not only did I help them make money in real estate, I learned from them. I learned about the behavior of the ultra wealthy. How do they think? How do they speak? What are their daily habits? You can't get that stuff from just reading a book. You have to hang around those people. And that goes right back to the network. Who you hang around with, the people, your tribe. Who's your tribe?
Mm-hmm.
Learn their habits. So in any case, I know I keep going down these rabbit holes, but
oh, hey, you're talking to Mr. Rabbit Hole here. I love going down the rabbit hole. I was with you the whole way taking notes, so I appreciate it.
Okay.
I view this as an opportunity to talk about me and my story, but also an opportunity to learn from you, Gary, because I've been listening to your podcast. I appreciate learning about your philosophy. You're successful for a reason, and I appreciate what you're sharing. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know we're probably going a little bit long here, and I have another podcast to do, but Deb, I want to, Matt, if you could kind of take us home, take us over the finish line, and with all that you're involved in, I know there's a lot, and for all the women out there, just check this out. Be grateful if you have a man who's part of an organization like Front Row Dads. Think about what kind of a man does he have to be part of Front Row Dads, and what does it mean about him? He's likely going to be successful in business too, and in other areas of life. If somebody that cares that much about that one aspect of life is probably going to care about all aspects of his life. So that's true for everybody. Look for people who are their friends. Look at who their friends are to decide if that's somebody you want to have part of your tribe. So in any case, I had to put that there. Yeah. How can we get a hold of you? Website, email, some of these groups. My gosh, you could probably load us up. But if you wouldn't mind doing that, Matt, that would be awesome.
Oh, thank you, Gary, for teeing it up. I'll keep it simple. You can find me at any podcast platform, the Eternal Optimist Podcast. Mm-hmm. We launch 1, sometimes 2 episodes every week. In addition to that, you can see all the podcast episodes on my YouTube channel, The Eternal Optimist. If you want more of a deep dive into some of the strategies of how you can do it, of building hope, a lot of stuff with the mindset, and even strategies on building your business or being a super duper spouse or a parent, you can check me out on my live stream. I do a live stream on Instagram and Facebook every morning, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time. On those channels, the Eternal Optimist Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. So check me out, Eternal Optimist Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, 7 a.m. Eastern every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday. Love to see you guys there. And if you want to talk about coaching, we can do that too. What the passion project right now is to give to the world something they can look forward to with positivity and energy. And that's the Eternal Optimist Podcast, Gary. So thanks for giving me that platform, and certainly appreciate learning from you and being with you today.
Oh, you're welcome. I really feel like I got a new friend because all the connections we have, and this beyond for those of you listening, it goes beyond the things we've been talking about here. There's so many connections. It was like that. This happens maybe once in a year. So this has been good for me too. Really enjoyable, and for everybody listening. I think you would agree this has been one of the highest energy podcasts we've had. And if you wouldn't mind, please leave a review. Go to Apple. Leave a review there, man. That's the currency that helps this whole thing happen.
Yes.
Yep. Go check out the Eternal Optimist Podcast. All right, and subscribe to that one. Leave a review there too. Actually, And then, And while you're out there, make sure you visit globalinvestoragent.com. If you're an investor, get one of the investors to help you out. These guys know what they're doing. They're not your typical agent. Just trust me on this, okay? And if you are an agent, boy, click on the learn more button and learn how to build out this part of your business model so you don't just survive, you do thrive in this oncoming market shift, and learn how to invest yourself. For gosh sakes, I mean, enjoy part of the American dream, and we'll show you how. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves. God bless you and your families, and we will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.